in modern etiquette, it's less about gender roles and it's more about, just like you said, the person that invited. So if you invited, obviously you chose the venue, you should plan the budget for it.
It's not about gender, it's about the host.
The simplest answer and the best trick is to use gratitude instead of apologizing. So instead of saying, I'm so sorry to bother you with this, just say, thank you for your time. I'm aware how busy you are. Do you have a time, a moment to help me with this? It sounds a lot more confident. No matter the worst situation that comes, train your mind to find the positive in the situation. You have to go out there and sort of find your frequency, right? Find the people that match.
Welcome to 6th episode of Femisticated Podcast. We continue with our guest, Andreea Stefanescu, which is a founder of School of Manners. Welcome, Andreea, again. Welcome, Nina. As we had really lots of topics to talk about regarding manners and etiquette, we kept Andreea in the studio and we would like to talk about manners and etiquette for women in a working environment and on a date. For those who are listening, Femisticated Podcast, first time, we bringing different point of views on how to stay in your feminine flow and succeed in this world full of sharks where even feminism is twisted all the way around. Welcome again, ladies. We're talking a lot about motherhood and about navigating this situation and all of the manners and awkward situation, but this can happen also in working environment. In modern feminism world, there are clashes between men and women on the working environment. So how should we navigate this? For example, if we getting compliments from men in a working environment, but we don't feel comfortable about them. How is this right? Is this wrong? How should we react to that? How should we navigate it? I pass it to you.
Thank you, Lucia. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, this is the answer. I do need to say that, ladies, if you receive compliments, please know that one day we'll be 90 and wrinkled and, we will like some compliments. So it's never, a compliment would always be a gift. And if you can take it as such and just move on, it doesn't have to become a sort of a big deal. Just say thank you and move on and receive the gift as it is. Know that you are a beautiful woman in the day. Then do it. If it generally feels completely inappropriate, the type of compliments that you're receiving, then by all means, yes, address it. You don't need to break the relationship. And I always have this sandwich that I say women should learn to communicate. Start with something positive, and you have to always find something positive in life. No matter the worst situation that comes, train your mind to find the positive in the situation. What is the positive? The fact that, a person complimented you, tried to make your day, and you'll start from there. So you say, I appreciate that you try to compliment me always and make me feel very comfortable and generally very beautiful. Yes, I appreciate that. Then you say the assertive part, so the negation. I do not feel comfortable with this repeating and happening in this environment because it distracts my mind from focusing.
That's nice. That's the good point.
What we have to do for work.
Exactly.
I would really appreciate it if at least while we're meeting here in a professional environment, we just focus on the work that I have to do for you and so on. So it's, you started with the positive, you put the negation, and then you end it with something positive. So we focus on your work. Ultimately, it always has to come back to them, right? And it's adult to adult type of conversation.
Always starts with positive negation and then positive again.
Yes, and you are actually affirming your boundaries, but in a positive manner as well. And this is so powerful and it's very important skills for women. I believe it's important when there is some attention towards you that makes you feel uncomfortable to kind of address it as soon as possible and to set those boundaries. And sometimes it can be quite difficult for us as women because, as we talked about in our last episode, we have this belief that we need to be always polite and always liked and people pleasing. So it is a very beautiful skill to have to set those boundaries early on. And there are so many different situations in the workplace or in business towards, let's say, our colleagues or our clients when we can feel overpowered by men when they try to mansplaining to us or kind of putting us down like professionally and What is the correct and assertive way of communicating in business environment? Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Some tips on what is the correct way to communicate with grace and assertiveness and elegance?
Thank you, Nina. I think there's always levels to this. The positive, negative, positive, just to make it clear, always has to be applied if you want to maintain the relationship. So you just express your emotions and express your needs in a way that it's non-violent type of communication. I think many women misunderstand setting boundaries as always going around this form of nonviolent communication, which is true. You don't have to be aggressive. But setting boundaries doesn't sound like I do not put up with men who have no manners from me, or I will not accept you interrupting me like this. This is not really communicating anything. If this behavior continues, I will have to leave. This is a boundary.
You would say that?
Yes.
You at the meeting with
So,
your colleague. And
if
he overpowers you. He
So,
put you to place.
if that is a circumstance and you're in a meeting where you want to stay,
Yeah.
there is always levels. At first, I would either stop and let the person say whatever they had to say, or I would continue to talk. I would slow down my speech, but I would raise my hand. And if they continue to talk, I'll just stop them. And I'll say, Jack, I'm sure what you have to say will bring a lot of value to the conversation. I just need to get to my point and then I'll let you have yours. Is that okay? So that is a way of communicating. Second, if they continue to interrupt you, then you'll just raise your hand discreetly and then continue to talk. So you'll slow down. When I slow down, you tend to instinctively, it's human nature, start to listen. So when you catch that you're being interrupted, you don't try to get to the point quick and rush through what you had to say. Verbally, you stand your ground. This is you standing your ground. It's like, I will continue what I have to say, but I will slightly raise my voice, not greatly, but I will slow down my pace until I get to the point, until he finishes to talk, and then I just come back. You can even address the name of the person who is interrupting you and say, oh, Jack. This we talked about.
Such a nice name, Jack.
We're gonna get
Jack
back.
would never
I know,
do this.
Jack. Poor Jack. I know.
Poor Jack would never do this. Come on.
I pick on Jack. You know, Jack is
Yeah,
he's so
different,
loved, right,
different.
in Titanic and all.
Yeah, exactly. Would he do this? He would never do this.
Rip poor Jack. I mean, we let him be. I think there's always levels and there's always a way to approach based on. I count on women to always trust themselves that they have the emotional intelligence and social skills to get the common sense in each situation and adapt these rules. And given that feminism was brought up, feminism is a great movement. The fact that we take it as a one size fits all and we implement it in each niche of our life, like I'm a feminist, so I'm a feminist across all board, like across. I'm going on a first date, I'm a feminist. I'm going to groceries, I'm a feminist. I'm like, just adapt that belief to the circumstance.
We are all feminists, you know.
And because look, you're both into image consultancy and styling. It's unbelievable that we see in color, but we think so black and white. The life has to be just either this or you're against me, or you're here or you're not here. People don't get
Black and
split
white.
into these categories.
There is another situation. You and your male colleague, are talking to another male colleague. And you ask the question to that person opposite you, and that person talking to your colleague, not to you, answering the question. It happened to me. How should we do this? So it's like, hi, I'm here. You talking to him, but it was me asking you the question, remember? How should we do this?
Oh, bless. Yes, this is a big one. Even when I was talking about, it's almost like a disability, being a woman, because I talked about disability etiquette and a lot of people were
very rude.
saying
And it is
this.
like, I'm here.
Right, yes.
Listen. And this is disrespectful when somebody asks you. And the person talking to your male colleague because he is a male. Is this a real thing? Because for me, it's unreal. In my world, like, we all human, we all communicate to each other, we all equal in my world, and it should be everywhere like this. And I don't understand this for many years. And we have to remind ourselves that we are here because what we are women, what is this?
So there's two answers and two sides to the question you just asked. One is the cultural aspect, which I think we have to acknowledge. The fact that at times you don't have to take things so personally. It might simply be because the person is coming from a culture where they're generally not comfortable watching a woman in the eyes. And it has more to do with them and then it has to do with how they feel about you necessarily. And the second part of the answer, if you are within your culture and you have seen this happen and you are aware that maybe they are looking at her, that they're by all means not the shy type, then one trick that
I meant that one. I meant that. I meant that one.
I'm sure
I
you did.
understand
There is also
cultural
this
differences
situation,
here,
sadly,
but
misogyny is a reality of the world, and regardless of going into the psychology of why that happens and having the compassion for those individuals, which I think it would be too extreme to go through that therapy session right now. I think you can definitely use techniques. I found that, for example, when I show things, so I use visual tracker. You've noticed that if you show someone, I'll guide them. And this also works if someone gets lost in some areas that are not here around the eye level, like the professional triangle. They just go down slowly. So just for you to take their eye gaze back up is for you to use anything.
That's
Like I'll show something that I'm talking about and I'll just use
how many
the pen.
fingers do you see?
Yes. I'll
my
hold
God.
the pen and I'll be like, so this is what I was talking about. I just wanted to go through these 5 points. Sometimes I don't have anything to show. And I'll still like either lift
This is
my
very
hand
good
and be
tip.
like, this is
what you
exactly what
wanted
I
to
was
ask
talking about.
about.
Yes. So make sure that you either raise your hand. Anything that would disrupt or catch their attention non-verbally would work because it's a disruptive. Anything that is disruptive in the visual will grab attention, whether you want it or not. It's human nature. So they will have to sort of look at you. So if you know that there is a manager or anyone that is just generally not looking at you when you present something and you need to be taken, you need to have their attention, get visual assistance. So use a PowerPoint, use
Exactly.
some slides, print something,
very
use
great
a
tip.
pen and try to point it out so you keep their attention. It's like being prepared for success.
yes, that's
Yeah.
true. And also, if we stay in this work environment, we talk a lot about the over-explaining and over-apologizing that women do very often. Oh, I'm sorry, may I just raise this point if you don't mind? It's not really that urgent. This is something that happens to many of us. And what is the correct way to communicate?
It shows me that you definitely have been following me. Yes, so I think the simplest answer and the best trick is to use gratitude instead of apologizing. So instead of saying, I'm so sorry to bother you with this, just say, thank you for your time. I'm aware how busy you are. Do you have a moment to help me with this? It sounds a lot more
So we reframe.
confident. Yes, you
a lot,
reframe.
yes.
At least try to start with gratitude. Do not start in anything. This can be applied with whatever circumstance. I'm late. And people sort of, when I tell them this first time, they're like, no, but they need to apologize. Yes, by all means, you can apologize. Don't start with this. Don't start with the negative. If in anything, in any type of conversation, when you, for example, come into a class or you are late to the conversation or you just meet someone in a networking event, don't start with something negative. Oh, the traffic was horrible coming here. I was so late.
That's exactly
how we started
It's just so bad, why it's getting worse and worse now.
Nina, manners.
But don't start with the negative. Yes, you can revert to the negative if you want, if you really have something to share about it. And by all means, I don't want you to hold back for too long, but at least start with something positive. Like, it's so nice to see you all here. I'm so happy that I made it. Thank you for waiting for me. And then say, oh yeah, the traffic has gotten a bit bad today. It just changes the whole conversation.
Show the appreciation
Yes, don't just
first
go
and
straight
then,
with
yes.
yes, I will lead with the negative here. And
Thank you didn't left when Nina started like this.
it happens a lot. I think it's awareness is the first part, and I built this awareness because obviously I did that. I was the type of personality that naturally did this. So whenever I coach people, I always tell them there's nothing, no circumstance to this point you would tell me that would shock me that I haven't done. I've done really awkward, really uncomfortable things that I learned the hard way. And that's what makes you a good trainer and a good coach, I think, ultimately, is not all the success and the smooth ride, but it's rather the mistakes and the failures that you've done that taught you so much. You teach best what you most needed to learn.
And learn from the experiences, right? And every time strive to be a little bit better, and it's a process, and it's not like an overnight thing. Yeah, it takes time.
We all make mistakes, right?
Of course.
Always, every day, hundreds of mistakes. Yeah, 150.
Yes.
There is another thing, my favorite.
Yes, we
my
are waiting for
favorite
this.
topic. My favorite topic nowadays: dating.
Yes.
When someone asks you for a date, men ask women to go to the restaurant. They go there, they have a nice time, and now paying part starts. In this world, women just grabbing their purses, they want to pay immediately. Okay, fine. I did that as many times because I want to feel independent. I am independent and I don't need somebody else to pay for me. But if I am invited, I mean, let the man pay. But now men are confused. They're splitting the bills. They letting women or kind of forcing women to pay. What is the right manners, etiquette, whatever is there right now in this modern feminism world? How should we navigate this? From my point of view, if when my husband invited me for a date, I never ever touched the purse. I never ever wanted to immediately pay or something. I felt like a lady that I was invited, so I wanted like him to do the part. Of course, on the next date, I did pay. It wasn't a problem, but this first one, it's very confusing, and I think men get confused. So let's clarify this point to them as well. Hopefully they're gonna listen.
I think they're as confused as we are as women, and it's kind of goes to a different
Directions.
to different directions. So what is your take on that?
So in modern etiquette, it's less about gender roles and it's more about, just like you said, the person that invited. So if you invited, obviously you chose the venue, you should plan the budget for it. If I was at home minding my own business, I didn't plan to go on a date and you asked me out, then it's obviously on you to cover for the date. And again, it's just the common sense. If as a woman, which happens less often, but if as a woman, you're the one who invited the guy out,
You
then
paying
you
them,
pay, yes. Also, if it happens, and I have seen it happen, I mean, in terms of this entitlement that, yes, sometimes women are going to pick. They're going to say, oh, no, we're not going to that place. I really wanted to try this other restaurant. Or they start to order caviar and lobster and...
They're trying the waters, Andrea, you know?
So in those situations, if you go over the planned budget of the person, you have to at least be considerate and plan, I guess, ahead that you would have to be prepared to cover for the difference at least. How does a gentleman guide, and not just a gentleman, I think even this is a trick that works for whoever is the host, a gentleman or a lady or whoever is in that circumstance where you are the host and you have planned ahead and you said, well, okay, this is my budget and I'm asking my friends out and I want to cover, but I don't want to break the bank. A very simple way of guiding them through the menu is to say, okay, I'll have the soup and maybe the salad, and that's it for me. Now, you as the guest are not going to go like, yeah, I'll have the soup, the salad, and the steak, and then tiramisu maybe for dessert. I was even thinking of trying this dynamite shrimping for appetizer. Like, what are you doing? You know, is this you eating in front of Netflix? Like, I'll be here. Obviously, if I said I will just have the soup and the salad, it was the clear guideline for you to look at how much time and investment this
So you
would
should
take.
copy what the person who is
Yes.
hosting.
Take the lead of the host, always.
the lead
That's
of
why
the
you are the guest. You would also not start to fill your own glass if you have a bottle of wine because you're not the host. You're not also the one to address the stuff if you are there as a guest. It's up to the host to ask you if everything is all right. If they see you not eating, you would not just call the staff and be like, oh, this is a really bad steak. It's like insulting the host that invited you to this menu, that you chose the worst venue. I'm going to teach people how this is supposed to be. You always see this kind of snobbish attitude around, oh, this is not up to my standards and I would have chosen a better restaurant. And it's not really the best because you are there as a guest. That is why I'm saying it's always a balance in respecting each other. If you are not on a budget, but you just are not hungry, you can also say, I will have the soup, but you know what? Please feel free to have, they have an amazing lobster here and you have to try the steak. And you almost push and you invite the person. Yes, you're giving them the freedom to please get whatever you want. And this is a cue. It's an ideal cue and communication between the host and the guest. And that's how we should perceive it, as who is the host, who is the guest in this circumstance, rather than that's a man or a woman who pays.
And another thing, first date, we have this clear. It's not about gender, it's about the host. Yeah. You're dating with a guy, you deciding where to go to the restaurant together. You go there, and now what? Who takes the bill? In this world.
So now you're dating.
Now
you're dating.
Now we are dating. How? Because sometimes man feels offended when the woman wants to pay. Yes. Sometimes women feel offended when men doesn't want to pay, or they want to split the bill, or what is the right thing? Right manners.
I love this question, Lucia, because it's so important for everybody to hear this. Today, more than ever in history, there's someone for everyone. If you want to be part of a relationship that splits bills, that has separate accounts, that has joint accounts, if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, if you want to be the one who is the main provider of the household, if you want to be polygamous relationship, same gender, anything, there's anything for anyone, literally anything for anyone. Religion, there's such diversity out there. And for the first time in history, I think the majority in the Western world, they have a choice, right? So if I'm talking to the single people in Dubai, be grateful that you have that choice. So communicate properly. That's why I feel like in the modern times, there is this results of many studies that arranged marriages tend to work better than the ones where we just built on love, because it feels like
it's a tension.
It's such we put such a pressure to just, as if it's the ultimate accomplishment, that you've gone from single to being in a relationship and now you're no longer a failure in your life. And that's the ultimate accomplishment. When I was dating and I was going on, I had a whole folder of, I was calling it social research. And there was all these online dating apps. I tried them all and I was going on hundreds of dates. That's true.
Oh my God, you were doing
just
social
because I was
research?
really, really curious on
That's
testing
so cool.
certain things. And I myself had to go from this very extreme, I feel, especially when we come into this multicultural environment. Eastern Europeans especially tend to have this stigma of being gold diggers.
Yeah.
And I was so brainwashed as a young woman that I tried to fight against it and I ended up harming myself. So I was trying so hard that to the point where I was almost making all the men that I would meet broke while they were with me so I can like sort of pay. It was that bad. So I had to.
Oh, so you pushed.
Yes,
okay.
I
You
pushed back,
yourself.
and I had to like make very small steps, and it was a long journey of me going from that to stopping myself from even reaching towards the purse, to being very awkward around it, to feeling like I'm unworthy. So I would just say when the bill would come, "Thank you so much for dinner. I had a really great time." And I think getting to that composure and knowing that you're not doing anything wrong, that you don't have to fake anything, that nobody's doing you a favor by asking you out.
You were proving
Yes.
others you're not a gold digger. Or something
I
like
have
that.
nothing against gold diggers. The truth is that I think it's such a terminology that we collected as a cliche. We forget that women were the ones that invented this term, not men. That today is used as a very derogatory term for even for things that are inherently just women trying to prepare for a lifetime of being good moms for their children. So I think there's so much on that topic.
There is.
But-
We should talk about this some
Yes.
other day. Actually, there is a lot of that.
I think ultimately, if you're a gold digger and you know exactly what you're there for and what you want, then I'm glad for that. And that's what every woman should do.
we would say it's all about values and finding those shared values and knowing, first of all, knowing yourself and knowing what your values are, and then you go with that in a relationship.
We didn't say who is paying that bill on dating.
So it's all based on your communication. I think you have to find your match. You go on the first date because you try to listen to the person, right? You communicate. This is where I'm coming from. This is what I'm looking for. There was a one point when I was doing all this research. You're gonna laugh. There was one date I was on, and he was really complaining about gold diggers, or how women in Dubai are gold diggers. We've all been there, and he went on and on and on about this and how bad and women and just looking for money. And I kept listening, and I was empathizing with him. And then after he finished talking, I sort of touched his forearm, and I said, "Oh, I'm so grateful that you're so honest and you shared all this with me, because I am a gold digger, you know." Like I look for someone who is there for me and who is a provider and who I'm ready to be a mother.
Yeah.
And obviously to you, that is the definition of a gold digger. So I realized in your life, this is what I would be. So I'm glad that we're honest with each other. And I cannot tell you that this guy has started to tell me how he has, no, that's not what he meant. He had so much,
of course,
because I think it's a fascination.
Too late.
Of seeing a woman that owns up to who she is and is very aware of this is who I am, this is where I'm coming from. I'm not expecting you to meet me where I am. I'm not expecting all men in Dubai to come and find value in the type of woman that I am. I don't think everybody should just come and meet my needs. Yeah. Because I think that's dangerous. I just think you have to go out there and sort of find your frequency, right? Find the people that match you. And in that case, if you're the type of one who wants to pay, who wants to be in a half and half, it's perfect. There's no right or wrong. Just choose your match. Just choose your partner and communicate instead of being frustrated. If you're the type of woman who wants a provider, what are you doing there paying for bills?
Exactly.
So that is the
Just to wrap up this episode, okay? Either we are gold diggers or we are not gold diggers. We are looking for the man who has a perspective and who can take care of us when we carrying the children and when we're taking care of them and everything else. So we should normalize this. This is the wrap up of our 6th episode. For all women who would like to know all about other topics that we're talking about, please be part of our Facebook community. We are building a community of women who lift each other up and helping each other on their way to living their dreams. So hope that you're going to join us. And to the next one. Bye-bye.
To the next one. Thank you, Andreea, so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Andreea.
Thank you.